There are no limits. Yeah, you might have a disability and it might stop you doing something in a certain way, but loads of people have found a way to carry on and to get into sport and be amazing at sport. So just because you've got one leg or one arm or no vision, don't let that stop you. My name is Dave Ellis. I'm a PTVI para triathlete and I'm 5-time European champion and 4-time world champion. My condition is called Stargardt's. It is a disease which I never knew I had until I was in my teenage years. I just thought I needed glasses. I was kind of struggling a little bit at school to see the board, and I sort of thought there was a bit of reflection on the board all the time, like struggling to pick out some of the finer words and numbers and stuff like that, probably when I was about 16. Went for an eye test, then got referred to hospital because obviously it is quite rare. It's not kind of a standard thing you go to the opticians and they know about. There's a fear obviously because they say, oh, you need to register blind because you'll be blind one day, and you're like, oh, okay. That's quite difficult to take as a 15, 16-year-old. It was definitely a tough time, and then it changed quite rapidly through to like 17, 18. Went from having pretty standard eyesight to then, not really being able to see anything in the middle of my eyes. I think it's different for different people, but for me in particular, it's almost like flashing light in the middle. It's a bit like if you have a camera with a flash on, and that big spark in your eye, just all the time. My vision in an eye test, in my good eye, I can read the top letter on a good day, and in my bad eye, I can see fingers moving or counting fingers. So, yeah, nowhere near the bottom few lines. It definitely is progressing a little bit each year. I've adapted to it. Generally, you just kind of get used to it yourself because you have to. There's no other option. Or you just end up having to rely on other people all the time, which for myself is not something I'm ready to do yet anyway.
My name's Luke Pollard. I'm Dave's guide. I am also in the Royal Air Force as a supplier in logistics. Currently, guiding Dave is my full-time role. So yeah, I'm pretty fortunate to be supported by the RAF. I've been watching cycling for all my life, really. What I always love is the fact that there will be people in that team who will sacrifice their own races, and some people will sacrifice their own careers in terms of helping, the leader of the team get the result and the team get the result. I feel like maybe my personality suits that quite well, where I don't mind the spotlight not being on me. Like, I'd love to be part of something that's bigger than me, I guess.
And I did actually stop doing sport for a couple of years almost, but got back into swimming in about 2005 and was then classified as eligible to race in para swimming. Somehow managed to qualify for World Champs in 2006, which was a massive shock, obviously, just coming back into the sport. And then it was, Beijing was only 2 years away. You kind of see the Olympics and you're like, oh, that'd be amazing to go to that one day, but you obviously never really think that could happen. Luckily managed to qualify for that and managed to make 2 finals, came 5th in 200 IM, which was a bit of a surprise, and really excited to then progress on to London. Unfortunately, London didn't quite go as well. Obviously, there has to be a cut-off in terms of who makes the qualification and who doesn't. And I swam maybe 3 times within, like a 1/10 of a second of the time, but unfortunately, that wasn't quite good enough to make to qualify for the games, which then led me to change sports. There was actually like almost 6 months where I was a bit lost and didn't really know if I did want to be an athlete anymore. There happened to be like a talent ID day for triathlon in January in 2013. I'd never really run before, so yeah, trying to pick up not just cycling but running as well was difficult and challenging, but it all seemed to go quite well, and managed to go to like European champs about 4 months after starting the sport and win that, which was a massive shock again.
British Triathlon put this Guides for Gold programme out where they were looking for guides to guide Dave and some other athletes. So yeah, I just saw that and immediately was like, yeah, I'm putting my name down for that. That looks brilliant. I just remember turning up the first day and being right at the back of the lane for swimming. It's pretty eye-opening for like you know, someone who, like myself, has you know, raced elite level for years, to come into a para tri and see, like, wow, these guys are actually incredible athletes that, like, in their own right, and yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing. Through the Guides for Gold program that British Tri put out, there was 3 guides selected for the 2019 season. I was lucky enough to be one of those guides, and like each of us would have like 2 or 3 races with Dave, and then there would be one guide who would take him to Tokyo. Yeah, I was pretty shocked actually to actually be offered to guide Dave at Tokyo, which was yeah, pretty special.
In PTVI, there's 2 different classifications where you've got the totally blind and then the visually impaired athletes. And to make it fair, so we can both race together, the B1s or the blind athletes set off first, and we wait on the pontoon. We've got a 2:47 factor where we're just waiting for them, and then we get set off at that point and start chasing them down.
For the swim, we're attached via a tether. So it's obviously quite hard to talk when you're swimming. This is a telephone essentially, where I can talk to Dave. This is actually developed by Dave Ellis, where I think he's just got a few elastic laces and knotted them together and gone, yeah, that looks good. Obviously, we're on the tandem on the bike, so we don't really need a tether there. Yeah, the technical aspects where Dave has got some control in terms of lean on the bike. So you've got to think about, okay, this corner is going to be like this sharp, so you've got to lean this much into it. And we can carry, I reckon we can carry this much speed through it. But on the run, like we have a tether which is a bit shorter, and there's not any elastic with it, and that we just go like round the wrists in terms of Dave has one, I have one. Like you're just looking for, it's more like hazards in terms of if there's potholes or drain covers or like even like discarded water bottles and stuff like that. But then obviously you can communicate a lot more on the run. So I'll be talking more than probably pulling. Sometimes I'm running out of breath. Just training with Dave day to day is difficult physically for anybody. You know, I came from elite racing myself, and I just had to spend 6 months just hammering my swim just to sort of get to a level where I'm able to complete the sessions with Dave. You need to have like 100% of yourself into it, because like this matters, probably more than my own career. People, you know, look at Dave, and that's where the pinnacle of the sport is at the moment. That's where people want to be, and that's what people aspire to. And the aim, that's the goal, that's the benchmark.
VI or blind sport without having someone to either be a guide runner or a pilot on a bike, or in triathlon, obviously a guide through the whole event. Yeah, wouldn't be able to do the sport, so it's kind of everything to you in the race, or just in general. A lot of the times people will just be volunteers at clubs as well, just to help VI athletes out or ride a tandem with someone who's blind or something like that. So it definitely makes all the difference in terms of getting people involved in sport who've got a visual disability. Well, obviously you want to do well in commies. I'd love to win the Paralympics. But then, yeah, you obviously would like to inspire the next generation, because you're just like one moment within the sport, but then para sport just in general, you always want to see it grow and develop and get to that level of able-bodied sport. But it's got a long way to go. It needs exposure. It won't take one generation or one set of athletes to really change the sport, but if we can do it as a collective where the level is so strong in para-tri that more people want to get involved, more people want to get interested in it, then that hopefully should keep it growing and keep it pushing forwards.